Jesus Christ, is this his portfolio? If this is his profile, then I quit YouTube because I cannot compare to that at all. Welcome to the Joyous Kingdom. In today's video, we'll be doing a brutally honest reaction video, reacting to famous NFT and crypto YouTubers. In today's episode, we're going to be reacting to Giancarlo buys tokens. I'm sure you've heard of him. Giancarlo buys tokens. He's probably one of the OGest of OG NFT channels out here. He's like only like one of 3 or 4 NFT YouTubers who has over 100K. And he's one of the first people that I think I started watching for NFT content. So yeah, we're going to look at his most viral video and we're going to react to it. So if you're excited to get into it, smash like in this video, subscribe to the channel, join the kingdom. If you haven't already, follow me on Twitter. If not, my Discord down below in the description. I really don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Make sure you get your 5 free stocks using my Weeble link down below. It's a free crypto and stocks trading platform made easy for you. Free money for you. Helps me out directly. I appreciate you guys always using my link for that. As you know, the goal of this channel is to instill the knowledge and confidence it's going to take to navigate this metaverse on your own one day. So if that sounds good to you, let's get into the video. Also, for any companies or brands you want to get in contact with me, just email me at georgeofficial@gmail.com. Let's go into it. So we have how I keep picking NFTs that 10x full strategy revealed, 260,000 views. This is October 2021. I'm not exactly sure what the market was like, but I'm going to assume the market was electric to get a video like this. This reminds me a lot of the videos that Journey Crypto blew up on in 2021. He went from like 40K to 500,000, making a lot of his top videos were like my top NFTs, or like my top picks for this month. And so I guess these kind of videos do really well. I'll probably start to get into these every now and then, so make sure you keep your eyes out open for that. But let's get into this video.
This is going to be one of my favorite videos that I've ever made because I'm going to share my entire approach for finding undervalued NFTs. And somewhere in the world there's a guy punching the air right now because he probably wanted to use this information for a premium course, but I'm going to try to give you everything I know for free on this channel, and it's less complicated than you might think. And if you're new here and you're like, who is this guy? Hi, my name is Giancarlo. I used to be a licensed stock analyst, and at the start of the year, I went all in on Web3. So that's NFTs, DAOs, social tokens, and I'm certainly not a whale. You know, I didn't start with a lot of money, but I have been consistent, and I've been able to buy in early in high-flying collections like Bored Ape Yacht Club, Cool Cats, Cryptoad, Solana Monkey Business, and Curio Cards. And going forward, I'm going to be using the same approach that I'm going to show you in this video to find the next big NFT. So if you want to see that in action, don't forget to subscribe, and congrats for being here because you're still very early. Okay.
You know, it's no wonder he's so successful on his YouTube game, the NFT journey, because of his background in stocks. I always say this in my videos, that you need to, like, one of the core things you have to be able to do to succeed in the NFT space is you have to understand economics at some level. Supply and demand, basic shit. You need to be able to look at a chart and like sort of know what's going on. And if you don't, you need to learn that shit. You gotta learn about market cap, circulating supply. Just know what those are, because they'll give you a huge leg up for all the people who don't know about it and trade solely based on emotions.
Okay, so the NFT market is huge and there's all these verticals, but today we're going to focus specifically on NFT collectibles, the majority of which are known as profile pic collections. Now, technically these collections don't have to give you anything beyond the artwork that you're buying, but today most do, and they function as what are known as access tokens. And this means that the NFTs basically work as tickets into a social club where you get all these added benefits, and in a minute we'll talk about how to value some of those benefits. And what you should know about my approach is that I'm taking a buy and hold strategy. So I buy NFTs that, you know, I'd be okay holding even when the inevitable downturn comes, because I have a thesis as to why those NFTs are going to perform well over the long term. And like I said, I'm not...
Thesis-based investing, I've said it a million times. Obviously, the best traders in the space use this strategy. That's why I always talked about it. Dollar costing your way in, dollar costing your way out. Thesis-based investing just means studying, figuring out something that you think will happen, and then making bets based on that before it happens. And then you either watch your investments grow because you were right, or you take the L. But thesis-based investing, I think, will get you, will yield you better results in the long term, and plus you'll learn and you'll make less mistakes. And I think it's important to make those mistakes early.
I'm not working with a trust fund or anything like that, and so I have to be very choosy in what I buy, because I'm basically expecting to tie up that money for a long time whenever I make a purchase. And my main goal with the approach that I'm about to show you is very simple. All I'm trying to do is come up with a very simple explanation as to why an NFT can potentially be a big hit. Remember that these NFTs are products just like anything else in the world, and so when you're going to be an investor in a product as opposed to a consumer, then you really have to think about who the target audience is going to be and what this product offers.
Jesus Christ, is this his portfolio? if this is his profile, then I quit YouTube because I cannot compare to that at all.
But basically what you have to understand is that access tokens are in most cases promises of future utility that require solid execution. And so you want to make sure that you have a team that's capable of following through with that. Another way that a collection can benefit from its founder is if the creator has a big personal brand. So an obvious case would be VFriends, which was made by Gary Vaynerchuk, one of the most well-known entrepreneurs in the world with over 2 million Twitter followers. So when someone is that big, the collection is obviously going to benefit from the marketing exposure that they can bring, as well as the connections that they can draw from their network for things like brand partnerships. So in other words, it's very
This is a huge point as to why brand is so important and why your credibility in this space, and the only thing you really should focus on, well, not the only thing, the main thing you should focus on is your credibility in this space, is when you're not in a Twitter space, but someone else brings your name up and it's a generally good reception, or people are like, oh yeah, I fuck with them, I think they're really helpful, or whatever it is. You want that to be a relatively positive thing, and you want a lot of people to know your name. And if you can do both those things, when you drop a project, that's a totally different story than some no-name random person dropping a project.
On the flip side, I might actually invest in a project just based on who the creator is, you know? There's a lot of people out there with immaculate track records. Again, I talked more about this in the video I linked earlier, so you can watch that after this. Okay, and then you have the art. And so basically buy something that appeals to you, but at the same time, you can envision a large audience getting into it as well. You want something that you personally like, just in case the thing bombs and you have to look at it in your wallet every day. You know, at least make it something that you enjoy. But at the same time, you don't want it to be some super niche interest that only you and like 3 other guys are going to be into. This is the most objective part of this analysis, and you just have to develop a taste yourself and get a feel for the type of art that other people tend to buy. And also, it doesn't necessarily mean that this has to be a super highbrow design that only the most talented artists can produce. If you think of some of the biggest memes on the internet, they tend not to be masterpieces. You know, I don't think Pudgy Penguins is going to be used as a case study in art schools anytime soon, but people are attracted to the cuteness and just some of the over-the-top.
Yeah, so this is a great point here, and the one little nugget he said in there was to pay attention to what projects you think other people, or something like this, what other people will buy, to develop a little sixth sense of like, okay, this will work. You know, maybe I don't like it, but this will work. That's a really, really good sixth sense to have in the NFT space.
Traits that they went for, and sometimes art just has a certain meme magic that causes it to spread. But don't take that as an excuse to buy into low quality art all the time, because 99% of bad art pretty much is just bad art. Okay, I'm gonna go out of order, so I'm sorry for all the perfectionists out there, but I'm sort of ranking these by importance. So now let's talk about community. Now, whenever you talk to someone and ask them why they bought into a certain profile pic collection and why they think it's gonna do well, it's not gonna take long until they say something along the lines of, well, the community is great. I think this is one of the most meaningless phrases out there right now, and to show you why, let's take a deeper look at what even makes a community good or bad. Now, the way I see it, what people normally mean by a good community is that...
And before he even gets into the stuff of the community, the reason that I really don't mess with too many new projects is because there's no track record, there's no anything to prove yet. The reason I'm more comfortable buying projects that I think are mid-tier blue chips-ish from 2021 is because they have 6 months of track record, 6 months of community building post-mint. Do people still care? Are people still buying? Is there any volume? Is anyone still talking about them? It's really hard to maintain relevancy in the space. And that's why I'm actually surprised more projects haven't partnered up with creators. Like, I'm surprised a project hasn't partnered up with NFTverse, and maybe they don't want to partner up with them or something, but partnering with a YouTuber makes a lot of sense in my opinion. So I mean, that's just one idea for projects out there to maintain some relevancy. But yeah, before a mint, the community is meaningless. Everyone's just excited for the mint. As soon as that's over, they move on to the next one. That's just how it goes.
Most people tend to be friendly and supportive and welcoming, and coming from someone who's been in a ton of NFT discords, I can tell you that the vast majority of collections are going to be classified as a good community under that definition. Typically, you are going to find that most people are actually friendly, and you're also going to find that there's always a small group of people who are jerks or are just obsessed with pumping up the floor price. And look, I've been in communities that people tend to put up as an example of what an amazing community is, like Bored Ape Yacht Club, and I can tell you that even in the early days, there were people that were a little too obsessed with floor prices, but again, most people were welcoming and just happy to be there. So the only things you really have to look out for are those rare communities that do fall into this toxic, pump and dump zone, and these are often easy to spot. You don't need to do a week-long deep dive to figure it out. On the other side of the spectrum, you can have great communities, which isn't driven by how friendly people are, but more so by how influential the non-founding members are. One example of this is Solana Monkey Business, which included many, quote, insiders.
And the things Giancarlo is talking about here with like knowing what type of vibe is going on, that's a sixth sense you develop, right? If you're new to NFTs, it's going to take you a minute to be able to actually understand what that means when we're like, yeah, it's got like a community, comma, something. And that's something you pick up, and it's just something you get better at over time. You're just going to have to stick around the space. You're just going to have to figure out on your own. You can't be handed everything in the NFT space. A lot of people just like to say, what buy, when moon, and that's the only thoughts that go through their head. And then if it strikes, they're like, I'm rich, I'm so smart. And if they lose, they're like, fuck. But yeah, I would just pay attention and just be in the space for a while. If you start doing NFTs tomorrow, don't check back for another month to see how well you're doing. And you'll see, because like 6 months later, you'll look back at your first month and be like, damn, I didn't know jack shit back then. But yeah.
From the Solana team and other influential developers. And people like that tend to just have friends that are also influential or whales. And that's always a good starting base to grow the network from there. Another reason why this community angle can be deceiving is because the community can change pretty dramatically as the floor prices of an NFT goes up. Essentially what happens is that you get a big sell-off from the original members every time you get a new price interval. And so you get to arrange like Bored Ape Yacht Club, where to now get in, you have to spend at least 150 grand. And so you're probably getting a very different type of buyer than what you originally did when it just cost $100 to mint one. And so as someone who was a philosophy major in college, which is your Snapple fact of the day,
That's a great point right there, especially for people who are new to the space to know that. I think that's something that we all, a lot of people who have experience understand, but we haven't really heard someone say it like that. Yeah, you do have a totally different community. In the beginning of a mint, it's a bunch of moon boys and moon girls because they're just trying to just grind for whitelist. That's just how it is, right? And the people who are more experienced rely on connections, networking, giveaways, whatever else to do it as much as they can, or doing, fan art or something like that. But the difference in community is very, very different 4 months after a mint than on mint day. So just remember that mint day is the beginning.
This reminds me of the ship of Theseus, which is a thought experiment that asks whether you have the same ship, even if you replace every single board individually, one by one over a long period of time. And look,
Giancarlo, you're a philosophy major. We definitely need to get you on the podcast thing because I have a lot of questions about philosophical shit. And I would love to get into it with you. Let's do it. Let's do a pod.
I'm not trying to downplay the role of community. I think it's one of the most important parts of this whole movement. All I'm saying is that if I ask someone why I should buy into their collection and they tell me it's because, they have a good community, which basically means that there's a lot of nice people, then I'm probably going to pass because it's telling me that there's no, better path for this to be a huge success. And honestly, once you start owning like 3 or 4 NFT collections, you basically don't have enough time to hang out in these discords anymore. So of all the utility that you're getting from these NFTs, this is in practice probably the one you use the least. All right, now let's talk about the roadmap or utility of the access token. And this is a tough one because it's still...
And in regards to getting something helpful from a community, depending on what kind of project you're in, there are some that they prioritize other things. Like if you have one of my NFT access keys, for example, it's access to me, the private Discord, we talk, we do other things in there. But we prioritize education, we talk, we prioritize other things rather than just like alpha whitelists and shit like that. I think that's pretty not helpful for 99% of projects don't do well after mint. And then you join some discords, like for example, if you were to buy into Neo Tokyo, you get into that alpha discord. They're talking about gaming and the future of gaming. They've got the CEOs of companies in there. Very, very different crowd because he was trying to attract a different crowd. It's the same reason that there's YouTubers out there who make really shilly content, promotional stuff, and they're going to get a certain type of audience. I'm a little bit more picky. I want a smarter audience. I want a more educated audience, one who's willing to learn and push the boundaries and stuff like that. And so you're watching this video, you're one of those types of people because you're not wasting your whole afternoon watching what to buy tomorrow for a 10x when none of them probably are, or they're all projects you're never going to get on because the whitelist has been running for 4 months and it's almost filled up or something.
Very early days, and there's going to be a lot of evolution in the coming years as to different forms of utility, but I just want to talk about some of the most popular examples that we see today and how to value them. The most common approach today is the quote roadmap that Bored Ape Yacht Club popularized. And this is just a series of promises for how the creator plans to bring value to the token holders. One of the items on these roadmaps that you'll often see is the idea of an airdropped companion NFT. And the most popular example of this is probably the Mutant Apes, again by Bored Ape Yacht Club. And how it worked was every wallet that held a Bored Ape was airdropped basically a potion NFT that could create a brand new mutant ape. And in many cases, these potions could be sold for $50,000 and in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so it essentially works as passive income for the holders. And as you would expect, most collections nowadays now promise to deliver, a companion NFT. But the thing is, from a financial perspective, a companion NFT is only worth as much as the project as a whole is worth. And by that, what I mean is, if I had a collection called Giancarlo NFTs and the floor price was low because people didn't care about it and maybe I wasn't doing a good job, but I delivered a companion NFT to all the holders, then yeah, you got a free NFT, but it's basically going to be worthless because the entire project doesn't have any demand. So nowadays, I don't put too much weight on these airdrops because they're only going to be value if there's intrinsic demand.
Great point here. For anyone who wasn't listening, rewind and watch that again. I have a tweet that I just made either today, I think, actually, talking about this. Like, if you can hold off at a companion project until your first project is established, it's like dominance, and be like, we are here. Until that's a thing, until people have heard of your project and you really are out there, I think a companion project is fucking stupid. It's just going to bring down the value of your project. I think I had maybe 8 or 9 months in between after my first Genesis projects before I made a third project, which is a very small NFT project just to open up the community a little bit. But I waited almost a year, right? Most projects are waiting like 2 months, and they're like, okay, companion project, and most of them are worth jack shit. They're not worth anything because why buy them?
And for the base project, unless what you're getting are airdrops from other projects due to some kind of relationship. And we're seeing a lot more of that, and I'm a big fan. For example, 888 Inner Circle gives you early access to upcoming drops, which basically means, potentially getting high quality NFTs at a cheaper price without a gas war. And we see something similar to this early access deal with Doge Pound and also with the upcoming project Party Degenerates. But again, this type of deal making really goes back to the execution of the founding team. Now, there's another category of utility that uses these sort of circular mechanics where, you're either using the sales from the NFT project itself to buy up the floor, or you're taking the secondary royalties and distributing that to token holders. Putting aside the fact that these are getting into securities territory and that's something you should consider, to me, these mechanics seem kind of crude and, they might support the price at lower levels, but I don't really see a lot of people spending millions of dollars to get into a project just because they're buying up the floor. Now, personally, I'm not a fan of these because what it's telling me is that the creator doesn't have a better plan for turning this collection into a big brand. I'd rather have a creator that is taking that money and is investing it in better ways for the project as opposed to just giving it back to NFT holders. In the end, there's going to be, a million little ways for you to bring utility to your community, and you don't need to do this like overly complicated scheme with.
Great point here. We need to change the conversation with NFTs as far as like, the problem is people are in NFTs to flip and make money, which I get. But if we ever want to evolve to the next level of NFTs, what I want to participate in, if I ever did a project, it would really be to hammer home that, like, look, Mint Day is capital raising day. We're here to make as much money as possible, and we're just raising a bunch of capital for the project, for the brand, to build. And everyone's thinking, what can I get out of this? Rather than, I can't wait to mint this so that they have the financial structure to make this shit happen. They don't care about that because there's too many projects launching. They're all the fucking same. But until you have something different, and what I'm going to try and bring whenever that time comes for my brand, whenever I feel that it's time to tokenize my support, leverage my supporters and audience and stuff like that. When is that day going to happen? It'll be when I feel like I've earned it and I feel like I can actually build something amazing here and have like a real idea, and also have surveyed the landscape and said, what has everyone failed and what can I help to do different and to bring real value and to change people's lives and shit like that.
All this game theory, and I like this meme with the "Are you winning, son?" format where the kid goes, "Yeah, Dad, I just gotta burn 4 seed tokens to earn a Marijuana Puff Pass. Then I can stake to maybe win a Cannabizoid after the snapshot. And I earn 10 toke per day, per Zoid." These complicated schemes can sometimes be fun, and there are some collections that do it well, but in many cases, they're just masking the...
Dude, that fucking cartoon is literally what it sounds like in Discord announcements. They're like, we have play to earn gaming next week coming out, staking. They're like, it's going to be lit. And I'm just like, no, it's not. No, it's literally not. It's going to suck. And it's going to be worth like 0.00001 of a cent. People are going to be earning 4 cents a day. Like, that's how it always happens. Very, very rarely do you have a project that has a coin that's actually working yet, because I'm pretty sure if it's doing that, honestly, it's like not legal, and there's like legal things that are gonna have to jump through for that, but I don't even know. There's too many things that are happening, too many laws are changing, too many people are being hired and fired, and I don't know what's going on up there in DC.
And also, if there's any way to guarantee their promises using the blockchain itself. For example, here we see Meeple's Gang NFT, and they're minting 10,000 NFTs at a price point of 0.06 ETH, which if they sell out would be 600 ETH or about $1.7 million. And they say that this NFT will act as an access card to exclusive benefits. But when you look at the roadmap, you see that they're only committing to up to 25 ETH in the treasury. So less than 5% of all the money they raise will actually be used to support the community. And there's no obligation, really. You just have to trust these anonymous developers. Meanwhile, on the complete other end of the spectrum, you have Nouns DAO, where 100% of all NFT sales go into
Great point here to bring up is that you always want to read white papers if possible, and then make sure you pay attention to exactly this, because if you saw this and you were planning to invest long term and to hold, you'd look at this and be like, well, actually, this sounds like a flip to me, or a non-buy. And that's something you'd only know if you've done the research. It's always important to do your research. Even if you watch my video, I do my stuff, but there's probably something else that I missed that you could find out on your own. So make sure you do your own research.
Really looking for a couple of important points. First, you want to look at how many people are paying big bucks for the rarest NFTs in a collection. If there's no conviction from whales and everyone is just focused on floor purchases, then you might not have the type of broad-based appeal that you'll need for this to be a 10x or 100x purchase. Remember, eventually you'll want people to be spending 6 or 7 figures on these, and so if there's absolutely no one willing to spend a material amount of money right now, then you should be asking yourself why that might be the case. The other thing you should look for are the ownership percentages and how many people own these NFTs in general. You're trying to make sure that you're not buying into something where a few whales control half the supply, and ownership percentage is one way to protect against that. Try to aim for projects that have more than 50% ownership. It's not a deal breaker if they don't hit that, but the low.
This is why I always show the Etherscan amount of holders in any review project, project review where I'm going over a project that's already minted. I'll always go to the Etherscan, check out the holders, and how he was saying these little details are important. If you're looking on OpenSea, there's more things that matter than just the floor price.
Now, to be honest, I don't spend a ton of time on the blockchain metrics. I really only look at them if the other parts of the analysis check out, and this is more of a finishing touch just to make sure that I'm covering all the bases. Alright guys, so at the end of all this, you should hopefully be able to drill this down into like 1 or 2 sentences as to why this collection is going to have a lot of demand in the future. And if not, if you find that the answer is like a little bit of everything, then I would recommend passing. I'd much rather have a project where one factor is like a 10 out of 10 as opposed to one where it's like 7s across the board. Alright guys, hope that was helpful.
And I'm going to be there. Here's even better to build on that. If you finally get to the end of your conclusion and you're like, I don't know, don't be upset. That is pretty much where everyone got. There's very rarely, not very rarely, sometimes when you're reviewing a project, you don't get a clear answer. You're like, well, this could work or not. I passed up on Degen Tunes. It was minting. And we just sat there and watched it. It was minting like nothing. There was nobody buying it. And I was like, yeah, this art's cool. Like, I like it. And it could work. I just don't think we're at the point in the market where it would work. So we literally just sat there and we're like, nah, and it was minting for like 0.08 or something. Floor's like 1.5, and I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? Why? It makes no sense. There's no reason. I don't get it, and that just happens sometimes. So don't be upset if you can't, if you feel like you can never call it. Most people are guessing, and almost every time you get lucky. If you make one, you're just like, well, I hope this will work, and you buy it, and it does work. You're like, I'm so smart. You got lucky. All right, you probably got lucky. In fact, sometimes, but you probably got lucky. All right, well, that was a pretty fun video to watch, especially from the perspective of that being in October of 2021. Really only a couple bull runs that happened. I think there was like one in the summer, then one later in the summer. This was probably near the height of it or something like that. So it was kind of cool to see this. And I don't really think he missed a beat here. I think he pretty much hit everything. Yeah, that video is pretty solid. I feel like that's pretty relevant even today. So anyways, Giancarlo, if you want to hop on a pod, I'd love to do it. I think this was really fun. I was really excited to review this most viral video of yours. Make sure you leave a like and you subscribe to the channel. And also, if you made it to the very end of this video, code word is going to be Giancarlo in all fucking caps. I also put his Twitter and his YouTube channel down below in the description. But if you want to follow me on Twitter and if you want to join my Discord down below in the description, I think it'd be really beneficial for you. And if you want to get 5 free stocks, use my Webull link, gets you 5 free stocks, free money. It's a crypto and stocks trading platform made easy. I appreciate you guys always using my link. If you want to see more of me right now, click on one of these boxes on the other side of me. Until next time, continue on your voyage, continue to learn, and be grateful you're alive watching this video. Bye.